What Jerusalem used to look like 2,000 years ago, blow your mind. Stay with me. Imagine you're standing on a hill overlooking Jerusalem. But this isn't Jerusalem you know today, like, it's not it. And there were no modern buildings, no cars, no electricity. Instead, stretching out in front of you is a massive city of pile limestones glowing under the Middle Eastern sun. Now, and Taurus, above everything else, is one of the most spectacular buildings in the ancient world. Herod's temple was one of them. Now, there was Jerusalem roughly 2,000 years ago. There was Jerusalem. And if you could walk through the street during the time of Jesus, the city would probably be and look like very different from what you imagine. So what did Jerusalem actually look like? Let's go back to the first century now. Now, around the time of Jesus, Jerusalem was a major religious and political center. The city was built largely from limestones, with buildings climbing across the hillsides. Now, from a distance, the city would have appeared almost entirely white and golden as the sunlight reflected off the stone. But the most impressive sight wasn't the houses, it was the temple, the Temple Mount. Herod the Great had massively expanded the temple complex, creating an enormous stone platform that dominated the city. And sitting on the platform was the second temple. That was Jerusalem 2,000 years ago. The Jewish pilgrims, this wasn't simply a beautiful building. It was the center of their religious world. Now, during major festivals, like Jerusalem would have become packed with visitors arriving from different parts of the region and beyond. Imagine thousands upon thousands of people pouring through the gates, filling the streets, and surrounding the temple. The city would have been absolutely alive. Walking to Jerusalem, now imagining leaving the temple and walking into the city. The streets weren't wide modern roads. They were narrow, uneven, and even tough because Jerusalem was built across still hills. You would have seen merchants selling food and goods, animals moving through the street, pilgrims carrying belongings, craftsmen walking, children moving between people, and Roman soldiers watching from strategic positioning. Now and then, there were the smells like wood smokes, fresh bread, olives, spices, animals. And near the temple, the unmistakable smell of burning incense. The unmistakable smell, like it never stopped smelling like a burning incense. And sacrifices. Jerusalem was quite ancient city, not like what you see now. It was crowded, noisy, and immensely active. And depending on what you walked, on where you walked, like you could see something else. Wealth and poverty exist among side by side. You get me? Now, Jerusalem was a city of enormous social differences. In the wealthier part of the upper city, poor families could live in impressive homes decorated with, mosques, paint, walls, and expensive furnishing. These were in sample mud huts. Some homes belonged to the elites. Some homes belonging to the elites were surprisingly sophisticated. But this wasn't how everyone lived. Now, ordinary workers, craftsmen, and poor families lived much more modestly, often in crowded areas of the city, just like in today's world. And outside Jerusalem, many people depended on farming for their survival. So while the temple was widely distinct and represented enormous power and wealth, many ordinary people lived much closer to the edge of poverty. And underneath all of it was another problem. So in Rome and tension. 2,000 years ago, Jerusalem was under Rome. Now Rome was in control of Jerusalem. Rome authority wasn't always visible in every street, but its presence was impossible to ignore. For many people, foreign occupation was a source of frustration. Religion, politics, and national identity were deeply connected, and Jerusalem was at the center of all three. This created a city filled with tension. The temple represented Jewish religion, independence, Rome represented imperial power. Now, ordinary people were caught sometimes somewhere between them. Just a few decide after Jesus' lifetime, this tension will explode. Now, in 66 CE, the Jewish revolt against Rome began. Like, they decided to stop being under Rome. That's it. Now, 4 years later, Rome forces capture, like Rome soldiers captured Jerusalem, and in 17 CE, the second temple was destroyed, and the magnificent city that Jesus and his companions knew would never be quite the same again. But before these destructions, imagine Jerusalem at the height. Thank you. Jesus loves you. Welcome to Echoes of Faith. Share and like this video. You're blessed.